and welcome to Fin Business. We are at the Singapore Fintech Festival, a great place and energetic atmosphere, electrifying for all the Fintechs who are looking in for customers as well as for the investors to join in and help them to scale up to the next level of growth. With me is Syed Musheer Ahmed, who is from Hong Kong. He runs a company called as Finstep Asia Limited, which is in the business of helping Fintechs from different parts of the world to establish in Hong Kong and scale their businesses and take it to the global markets. I would like to understand from Musheer, what is he trying to see in Singapore Fintech Festival, as well as how Hong Kong can be a great step for Fintechs from India as well as other parts of the world to scale up their businesses to the global market, especially in Asia. Musheer, welcome to Fin Business.
Thank you very much. It's a pleasure and an honor. Thank you for having me here today. And just a quick introduction, Finstep Asia is an advisory which helps, as Mr. Babu mentioned, bringing in companies from the West as well as in Asia to scale and launch in different parts of Asia. We primarily focus on B2B fintechs, but open to helping others as well. What I've been here in Singapore for was to try to find and speak to partners in the ASEAN region as well as in Singapore who are keen on Indian talent and Indian fintechs. When I say talent, I'm talking about strong Indian companies who can fit into their ecosystem quite strongly. Now, when you look at every booth, I think I was kidding with a few friends saying that this is you could easily call this the Indian Fintech Festival, considering the number of Indians who are here. Now, that's a testimony of the number of Indians who are quite active and strong in business-to-business technology, right? Almost all firms have strong people who work both on finance as well as technology. So here I was to talk to corporates who would be interested in bringing on board Indian B2B companies. Now coming to the point about Hong Kong, right? So that's where I've been based for the last 5 years. I'm one of the founders of the Fintech Association of Hong Kong, as well as a co-founder of India Tech Hong Kong, which is the community organization which helps raise profile of Indian fintechs and Indian technology firms in Hong Kong and Greater Bay. We work with the Council General of India in terms of doing events to promote them, right? Hong Kong is Asia's largest financial center, is the third largest financial center in the world. It is a very strong place for anybody who's looking to launch their B2B businesses, right? So we're talking about 75 of the top 100 banks in the world having their headquarters for Asia Pacific, APAC in Hong Kong. Secondly, you're talking about over 8,000 international companies as well there. So if you're a B2B, it's a great market to enter and scale. And if you're coming in from the West, you have two options if you're looking at Asia. Now, you can go in directly into the major countries like China, India, maybe parts of Southeast Asia or Middle East, where you go one directly and try to launch yourself. Or secondly, you go into locations and bases like Hong Kong and Singapore to scale your businesses from there, them being your headquartered. Hong Kong is your ideal place if you're targeting the greater China, East Asia, so Japan, Korea, Taiwan, Australia, and of course mainland China. Plus, you're looking at ASEAN. So I think Hong Kong provides a very good market for that. It's 5 hours away from all of this. As we say, Hong Kong is 5 hours away from 40% of the world's population, because even India falls in that land scale. Whereas, the number of startups in Hong Kong are a good strong mix of local startups and expat-run startups. So 65% are local, while 35% are expat-run startups. A lot of maturity. We have 4 fintech unicorns in Hong Kong. And after India and China, Hong Kong has more or less for the last 7 years been the country which gets, or location that gets the most amount of money in venture capital in Asia. Right? So a lot of growth, a lot of opportunities. If you're a senior, well-developed fintech, you will be likely to be onboarded well by the banks. Banks are keen now on partnering and building their new products with fintechs, simply because they've gone through the iteration of first rejecting the startups, secondly being scared of them, and thirdly trying to build things on their own. And now they realize the best way is a modular way, a collaborative way. And so the banks are very collaborative, and it's a good opportunity to come over there. Lastly, the government in Hong Kong has been running a lot of innovation spending. They spend quite a bit of money on infrastructure. There's VC funding as well, and there's a lot of space for startups. They're also keen and try to fund any deep tech companies for the R&D and staff augmentation. and they also installed new visas for technology talent to come into Hong Kong. So very conducive environment. And last, I would say, is when you're looking at Hong Kong, quite a few people look at it as a gateway into China. But one of the key things that Hong Kong now is proving to be is a launchpad for mainland Chinese companies. They're very familiar with Hong Kong. Many of them list an IPO in Hong Kong. So you must have heard the news earlier today. Alibaba's doing the secondary listing in Hong Kong later this year. Hong Kong still is the number one market for IPOs globally, even larger than NYSE. And you can see that for exits and for doing the IPOs, companies come to Hong Kong. But more importantly, a majority of their international offices are headquartered in Hong Kong. So if you're coming to Hong Kong, there's this collaborative element where Chinese companies are now looking to scale internationally and they want to do it through partners. So that's a good place for them.
So how many fintechs are a part of the Hong Kong Fintech Association, and how is it scaling up?
So overall in Hong Kong, we're talking about between 650 to 750 fintech startups. The survey is on its way. And the Fintech Association, we are 3 years old, actually 2.5 years old. And we have about 400 companies with the association, of which roughly 150 of them are startups. So the association is a representation of any company that's engaged in fintech, from the world's largest banks, from HSBC, JP Morgan, Citi, UBS, DBS, all the way to tech giants like Alibaba, Tencent, Visa, PayPal, etc. And as I mentioned, the big four consulting firms and about 150 different fintechs.
Fantastic. So what kind of ease of business does Hong Kong provide compared to other countries like Singapore in this one?
I think they're very close. Hong Kong and Singapore are very high on global rankings when it comes to ease of business. But Hong Kong is the number one free economy in the world for the last 7 years consecutively. And the number two when it comes to ease of business globally as well. So setting up in a business can take you less than a week, sometimes even in 2 days if you have all the right documents. And this is from personal experience in setting up these companies myself. So you have a lot of ease of business and you can do it very comfortably here. So yeah. Not a barrier.
How open are the banks in Hong Kong to work with the fintechs?
As I earlier mentioned, I think they're very open. They're very keen on working and building relationship with mature fintechs. All the banks or all the major banks now have an innovation lab and accelerator teams who bring in startups to help them. And the likes of Finstep Asia, which is my company, are quite keen on assisting the banks in their process as well.
How is the regulatory scenario?
Improving. I would say 4 years ago, the regulators were still trying to figure out the right frameworks. But we have three main regulators: Hong Kong Monetary Authority, SFC, which is the Securities and Futures Commission, and Insurance Authority. HKMA is probably the most forward-looking regulator in the region and very close second to MAS overall in Asia. They have launched smart banking initiatives 2 years ago, which includes faster payment systems, open banking, virtual banking, as well as a sandbox. So very forward. SFC has been very open and been pushing out digital initiatives, including a sandbox for crypto exchanges and a new licensing regime for crypto exchanges recently launched, but also a big focus on wealth management and digital onboarding as well. So regulators are quite forward-looking. Their main focus is customer protection, but they're also very keen on increasing use of digital in the space. So yeah.
Fantastic. Thank you, Musheer, for such interesting insights into it. The market of Hong Kong, and I'm sure a lot of fintechs are looking forward to enter the global scenario, especially the Asian scenario, through Hong Kong as a gateway. We wish you all the best in trying to onboard all these interesting fintechs, and we would also try to recommend a lot of them to approach them through you so that they can enter into the larger growth markets in a faster track. Wish you all the best. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Pleasure speaking to you. Thank you.
Thank you.